Hey everyone, big update today coming out of Washington and Beijing. It looks like former President Donald Trump has secured a major trade agreement with China that could give a big boost to American farmers, especially those growing soybeans. According to U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, China has agreed to buy around 25 million tons of U.S. soybeans every single year, and the first shipment will be huge. 12 million tons will be bought immediately. Now, if you've been following trade news for a while, you'll know soybeans have been a big issue between the US and China for years. China is the world's biggest buyer of soybeans, and the US used to be one of its top suppliers. But when the trade war started a few years back, things got messy. Tariffs went up, both sides stopped trading as much, and American farmers were hit really hard. So this new deal is kind of like a reset, a fresh start for agricultural trade between the two countries. Bessent said this agreement is meant to make sure U.S. farmers don't get caught in political fights anymore. He called it a win for America's great soybean farmers, and said this deal will help them finally see some stability again. From China's side, the reason they're agreeing to this deal is pretty simple too. China needs soybeans, a lot of them. They use them mostly for animal feed, especially for pigs and poultry, and they also make cooking oil from them. Over the past few years, China had been buying a lot from Brazil and Argentina instead of the US, but now they're looking to diversify again. That means they want to keep multiple suppliers open, including the US. The big picture here is that this deal could ease some of the trade tension that's been going on between Washington and Beijing. Both sides have been throwing tariffs and restrictions at each other for years, not just on food but also on tech, rare earth materials, and manufacturing. This new soybean deal might not solve everything, but it shows that both countries are at least talking and trying to rebuild some trust. Now, what's really important is that China says it will immediately start buying 12 million tons of soybeans from the US. That's expected to happen over the next few months, basically before the end of January. For farmers in places like Iowa, Illinois, and Indiana, that's big news. Many of them have been struggling with lower prices, higher costs, and too much supply sitting in silos. If China actually follows through, it could raise prices and help move a lot of that grain out of storage. But of course, there's still some skepticism. Analysts are saying, okay, let's see if China really buys the full amount. Because, it's one thing to announce a deal, it's another to see the ships actually moving. In the past, similar promises have been made and then delayed. So this time, everyone's watching closely to see if these purchases really happen. Financial markets have already reacted. Soybean futures went up right after the announcement, reaching their highest point in over a year. Traders are optimistic, but they also know that China tends to keep its options open, meaning, if Brazil has a cheaper harvest next year, China might still split its orders. So it's definitely a positive sign, but not a guaranteed long-term boom. Politically, this is also a pretty strategic move for Trump. A lot of his support comes from farming states, and the trade war hit those regions the hardest. So landing a deal like this gives him a strong talking point. He can now say he brought China back to the table and got them to buy American again. It's also a sign that US-China relations might be warming up a bit, at least on the trade side, even though other tensions still exist. For now, the general feeling in the agriculture world is relief mixed with cautious optimism. Farmers are happy, traders are hopeful, and officials are calling it a step toward rebuilding economic trust between two of the world's biggest economies. But again, everyone's waiting to see real movement, meaning actual shipments and confirmed purchases. So to sum it all up, China will buy 25 million tons of US soybeans every year, and 12 million tons are being purchased right away. It's a big step for American farmers, it helps ease some trade tensions, and it could bring stability to the global soybean market. That's all for today's update, but it's definitely a story to keep an eye on. Because if this deal really holds up, it could reshape parts of the global food trade and give a much-needed boost to rural America. Let's see how it plays out in the next few months. Alright guys, that's your update. If you enjoy these quick breakdowns and want more world news made simple, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Now let's dig a little deeper into why this particular soybean deal matters so much. You might be wondering, why soybeans? Why is everyone talking about this one crop like it's the center of the trade world? Well, soybeans are actually one of the most valuable U.S. exports to China. They're a huge part of what keeps the American agricultural economy running. Every year, billions of dollars are made just from selling soybeans overseas. When that trade slowed down during the trade war, it wasn't just the farmers who suffered, it affected trucking companies, shipping ports, storage facilities, and even small-town businesses that depend on farming income. So this deal doesn't just help farmers, it helps entire rural communities. Think about it, when farmers earn more, they spend more locally. They buy new equipment, repair their barns, hire workers, and that money keeps circulating. But here's another thing, a lot of experts are saying that this deal could also be a political signal from China. Maybe China is trying to ease tensions with the US without making it look like they're giving in too much. They get a stable supply of soybeans, the US gets a small economic win, and both sides can claim victory in their own way. It's like a diplomatic middle ground, each side walks away saying, "We got what we wanted." However, some analysts are pointing out that this might be part of a temporary trade truce, not a full long-term peace. There are still disagreements over technology, semiconductors, national security, and even territorial issues. So while this soybean deal is a good sign, it's not the end of the US-China tensions. You could say it's more of a pause, like both sides taking a breath before the next round of talks. Now, let's talk numbers for a second. 25 million tons per year, that's roughly what China used to import from the US before the trade war began. So, in a sense, this deal brings trade back to what used to be normal levels. The immediate purchase of 12 million tons, though, that's the key part. That's what's getting farmers excited right now, because it means real, near-term demand. But even here, there's a challenge: logistics. Getting that much grain shipped in such a short time isn't easy. It takes coordination between farmers, exporters, ports, and shipping companies. And remember, harvest season just ended, so there's already a lot of pressure on storage and transport systems. If China starts buying aggressively, ports on the Gulf Coast and the Pacific Northwest could get really busy really fast. Meanwhile, global soybean prices are starting to rise. Traders in Chicago have already reported higher prices following the announcement. And when prices rise, farmers benefit, but at the same time, animal feed producers and food manufacturers face higher costs. So it's